So, my foot's busted. If you want to be specific about it, I'm experiencing metatarsalgia of my right foot. This is likely capsulitis or a plantar plate strain brought on by irresponsibly running over rugged terrain in my favorite yet too thin for trails road running sandals for about a month or so. What can I say? Once you run trails, roads tend to pale. In comparison, yeah, the saying needs work. All of this means that until this 4-foot inflammation goes down, no running. Maybe you've been in the same boat, or maybe you've been here before. If you're an active person, eventual injury is inevitable. And while a portion of the population may be saying, can't exercise, that sounds like a great excuse to stay in bed and watch Netflix. You're not stoked about not being able to do your thing. And just bummed doesn't quite cover it. But I don't have to tell you this. You already know that when you can't perform your preferred method of movement, this doesn't only impact your physical fitness, but also your mental fitness. But why? Well, many of us begin to lean on our favorite form of fitness as a mental health practice as much as exercise. And it works. Exercise has been shown to release endorphins, dopamine, adrenaline, and endocannabinoids, all responsible for the rush of meaningful excitement, subsequent relaxation, and an overall equalizing effect of consciousness. This is so effective that exercise has even been prescribed to help treat anxiety and depression. So when life swipes your meds in the form of sidelining injury, what are we to do? Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, and here are my findings thus far. Step 1. Trust the process. Our bodies are magnificent self-healing machines, the likes of which modern engineering has not been able to replicate. But we gotta let them do their thing if we hope to return to doing our movement thing again faster. And yeah, it sucks. Whether you're recovering from a surgery or waiting for stupid inflamed metatarsal head joint to finally heal up so you don't have to feel like you're running with a rock in your shoe, I swear I've just about had it. We have to trust the process. And this is a threefold process. A, don't screw it up. I know that you want to run on that injury to see if you can take it or climb with that shoulder to see where you stand. But if there's any inkling of healing that could take longer than the time you've already waited, just don't. It's not worth it. Best case scenario, you're back in business a little bit earlier than you thought. Worst case scenario, you completely undo days, weeks, or months of healing just because you wanted to see if you could get a session. I wish I had learned this from some other source other than my own impatient stupidity. B, do what you can. For the sake of your physical fitness and mental health, look at what alternative physical activity you can do without undoing any progress. If you can't run, try cycling. I bought a practically brand new stationary bike off of Facebook Marketplace for $25. If you can't do any of that, swim, row, do whatever you can to raise your heart rate or engage some muscles. Will this alternate activity take the place of your thing? Probably not, but it'll help keep your head meds better regulated and your fitness in a decent place, so your eventual triumphant return will be a little more, triumphant. Distract to detach. This is going to sting a bit, but one of the most helpful ways I've found to cope with not being able to run is to put it out of my mind as much as possible. I learned the necessity of this practice after the first few weeks of not being able to run. I would watch trail running documentaries on YouTube and throw myself pity parties. I used to do the same thing back when I used to skateboard as a teenager, watching skate videos while nursing an injury for a few days that I had to wait, or while I was waiting for a new deck after snapping one. And these pity parties would make me miserable. Instead of being amped to go skate or run, I'd end up just feeling helpless, defeated, and bummed out that I couldn't channel this enthusiasm into a trail run or a skate session. These days, to prevent pity parties like these, I like to distract myself with something else, usually filling in a knowledge gap or strengthening a weak practice that I could develop. This practice of meaningful distraction is a part of a much larger subject. Step 2, reallocating energy where it's useful. Now, there's no denying that your fitness thing, whatever your particular flavor is a great way to spend your time. It kills a whole flock of birds with one stone. But let's come back to our original context. You're injured, and you can't do that right now. You suddenly have a gaping hole in your schedule and your focus. And while you spend some of that time doing the non thing, part of your favorite movement thing, whether that's reading gear reviews, plotting routes you plan on running, or watching documentaries, you can only do so much of that before you make yourself miserable because such activities tend to morph into pity parties. So, how else can you spend that time in injury? Injury, energy. Freudian slip there. So, how else can you spend that time and energy? Well, you can start by looking at what you may have shelved in order to do your favorite movement thing. Here are some of mine. I began journaling more, which helped me get to the bottom of personal issues I'd let run in the background of my mind for too long. I did somewhat of an audit of my own creative endeavors, trying to decide which projects needed attention, tweaking, or responsible abandoning. And I realized that I'm not a YouTuber. I'm an essayist with a phone camera and a friend's microphone and an LED light and some video editing software. You have no idea what a huge relief that realization was. Now, these distractions don't mean that I've forgotten that I'm a runner while waiting for my stupid foot, I meant miraculously self-healing appendage to fix itself. No, I've also continued to research proper form, technique, the role of gear, nutrition, and even some activities within the running community in my downtime. But I try my best to keep my focused on what knowledge and development gaps will help me become a better runner instead of wallowing in the stuff that will inevitably spiral into a pity party. If you're currently sidelined with an injury that keeps you from doing your preferred movement practice, consider it an opportunity to take some time to zoom out on your life. Maybe whip out a pen and a journal and scan your mental attic. Take inventory of what you let gather dust and what to do with it now. A little emotional decluttering and filling the knowledge gaps can be best addressed while you're patiently awaiting your triumphant return to your thing. Don't waste your time on the bench. So, have you turned any setbacks into launch pads? Have you made any sideline breakthroughs that may not have been possible without what originally seemed like a stupid injury? I mean, the injury could still have been pretty stupid. Mine sure was. Let me know about them. I've been Ken, and stay kinetic. That's it.